Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Clause Play, where I take you through something to do with contracts and just some different ways for you to start playing with your contracts in your business or for your clients. So, today I'm taking you on an exciting, hopefully, journey through my own legal service documents, and I wanted to do a little bit of a compare and contrast approach to my current version, which I've just updated in the last few months. That's this one here, uh, compared to my previous version, which was from around 2020. So this one on my on my right, on the left, here, this one that I'm pointing at, did get the right mark plain language certification seal of approval. It was the first Australian law firm to get that particular plain language certification. And you can see this one, my most recent one, has the better contract design uh, mark there from the World Commerce and Contracting uh, Better Contract Design Review Board. So, and I was the first law firm in the world to get that mark for my legal engagement documents. So, why did I update my documents? What's the difference? And kind of what does it all mean? Let's talk about that. So to start with, you can see that I actually had updated my logo. So this logo was, I actually really loved it, but I've got this new one, which has kind of got a bit more of that hand-drawn type approach that I really love with using with icons and with graphics. This idea that you can put some handcraftedness into your legal documents and into your business, because it's with your business, I think it can be handcrafted, whether you're a law firm, a professional services firm, or a creative business. There's lots to be said for getting your creativity into your documents. So some of the other things that you can probably notice straight away, this front page here has a lot more graphics on it than my old version. So I really wanted to explore different ways of chunking up the documents. Previously, I'd kind of had this quite small graphic that explained the different sections in the document. I've done that again with my service conditions here, but the approach that I wanted to take was to have here's our agreement and just set out that this is part of because I do a digital service offering, I set up a really clear scope to start with. So I really wanted to try and chunk up the documents so that people could understand here's where some of the parts of the agreement are, here's where some other parts are, and here's the other parts. Now, this isn't groundbreaking. Lots of different law firms and different businesses have a tiered approach to their contract terms. What I've also done is use this as my precedence clause, so which document takes priority if there's a conflict. And so it's just a nice way to welcome people to the document, try and explain that this is where they are and this is how things work, and also incorporate some lovely icons to set the scene for the rest of the document. Now, additionally, and I don't know if I've done this amazingly, I'm still, everything's a work in progress, so I'm always open to ideas from anyone else. What I've also done here is set up the chunks of the documents so that way within this document there's different sections. And I don't know that I have, it does say click on an icon below to go there. I don't know that I've updated that, so I better update that to make sure that all the hyperlinks are working. Um, the touchstone is also something new. I've done conscious contracting training this year, and it was really important for me to start to really get my touchstone into my contracts with my clients. So a touchstone is basically a way of showing your vision, mission, and values, and the approach that you're taking to your life, your business, and to try and use that as a lens to really focus the relationship that you're building. And so this is how I want my relationships with my clients to set off on that strong footing. But also, if people are like, ugh, touchstone, I don't want to, I disagree with Verity's touchstone or with the checklist legal ethos, that's perfect. They shouldn't work with us, right? So they should go, or they are welcome to go elsewhere. But it's the way of just saying, well, this is how we work and this is what we believe in. Now, this for me is a work in progress as well. I am always trying to better communicate the vision that I see, how contracts can impact the world, how we help women in business and law, and how we help our clients all over and just that change that we want to see in the world. So this will be updated in the coming months as well, just as I reflect more and more on all of the learnings from 2022. And so, even in the space of um, what is that, like 6 or 8 months, my thinking on this has evolved, which is good, which is what it should do. Also, values, getting values into contracts, I think is really important, especially if you're a purpose-based business. Now, I don't think I had my value, I didn't. So I didn't have my values in my original contract, my original legal service terms. They were part of the process and the onboarding process. But what I really wanted to do was have them in, as part of the touchstone. It's really important to me to put those values front and center. And clients, you are encouraged to call me out if you are saying, Verity, you are not meeting up with your values around consistency or simplicity. We think you can do better. So I really it's potentially a bit scary if you're putting your values into your contracts and you're a bit worried about it. But I guess that is a question for you and for your organization on if you are a values-based business, then your contracts, I think, should also be values based. So again, these will change because I'm evolving. These values have been the checklist legal values for the past 2 years from when I was a sole practitioner, now having a teeny tiny team, and just the approach that I'm taking as I reflect on the law firm and who we want to be. And so these will be updated as well. But they've also got here, and it's kind of chunked in at the end, client experience. And I think these will probably stay the same, but client experience is the other lens that we want our clients to imagine, start to think about the way that we're delivering services. And these are the words that we want to hear at the end on some of the testimonials that we receive. We really want people to feel confident and energized, understood, delighted, and a little bit rebellious. So that's kind of our approach there. And so that document, that page is our touchstone, and that is hopefully distilling what the law firm is and our brand promise in a way in maybe a two-wordy page, but we'll see what we can do if I can get some professional copywriting help to bedazzle that a little bit. So then this is where the document is not that dissimilar from the existing one, from the previous one, where I do go into our relationship with you. So a lot of the headings are still the same. From a design perspective, I did want to bring in more of those icons. I don't know if it helps that much. It's still very text heavy. I could probably do a lot more to break up some of that text. And when I do a walkthrough on my first ever employment agreement, I'll show you how I added more visuals into that document. But for now, this is kind of what I'm working with. So always room for improvements. Previously, I had there's some belief in plain language circles that headings should be descriptive. So often, and that's what you'll see on this side a bit more than perhaps this side, where headings get quite long. And so instead of saying things like money or fees and payments, it might say, you agree to pay us money. And so I think in some ways that makes things harder to scan and read and understand, because I think, and this is something I need to do testing on, that people read through and they see money and they're like, okay, the money section, that's the bit that I'm interested in, as opposed to trying to read through like 10 FAQs and try and find. So that's something that I also updated from my earlier version to the later version, as well as things you can see like the chunked up heading section is different, using that pale blue on with black, and that goes back to accessibility. This approach I did quite like previous, because of the color of my green, I needed to use this quite dark green for accessibility. Here I've used the more of that teal green, but gone darker than my actual brand colors, so that way it works from an accessibility point of view. It's probably still a little bit too light. You can see here the dark does jump out a bit more, but I was trying to get away from dark green law firm. Yeah, so something for me to think on there. You'll also see that the text is a lot smaller, so maybe it's a bit too crammed in. So that's another thing to think about as well. So our relationship with you, where do I go to now? Scope of legal services. So again, something else that I like doing is starting each section on a new page. So you can obviously do that whenever you want to. It does mean your document ends up getting longer in some instances, unless you've got like a magic document and everything just works on one page, because naturally some sections are longer than others. So whether or not that's something that you're working with, if you've got a document that's quite technical and it is that chunks gives it that extra room to breathe, I would definitely say break it up. I think it's really nice if you can have new sections starting at the top of a new page. It just makes it easy to look for, easy to find. Whereas here, because we're trying to save on page length, so what's that, 6 pages, and this one's actually 9 pages. So saving on pages here, remembering there's no touchstone page as well. So there's a few other things going on in each document. Yeah, so that's one of the other things. Fees and payments. Fees and payment. Yeah, so I've clarified things a little bit more around the project brief, because I really like to have a scope that's quite clear, almost like a statement of work that's up the front, and that's my project brief for legal services. Then these legal service conditions sit at the back. I wanted to clarify that a little bit more, just kind of double check that project brief. That's where the key details are. And that part is quite automated in my client management system. So that's really easy for me to set up. With the old version, it was a similar approach, but I think whether or not anyway, I think I just wanted to clarify it a bit more here. Pay on time, always nice. Protecting your information. So I beefed up, I feel like there was quite a bit of a difference on the protecting information. Maybe I didn't go into it as much, and I felt like I wanted to really dive into that a bit more. So that's why that information and intellectual property section is much longer. And this is the other section that's new based on conscious contracting. I don't know that I even have a dispute resolution clause in this one. Maybe not. Anyway, so what I wanted to do for my conscious contracting kind of approach to life and law was to have what I call a dynamic change section, which in the world of conscious contracting is called addressing change and embracing disagreement, I think, the ACED. And so I just call it dynamic change, because it's all about knowing, well, do you know what, things will likely change. This deep dive is a process that I've set up with my independent contractor agreements. It's in my employment agreements. It's with my clients so that that way there's a tool there for clients to say, "Hey, can we have a chat? I've got a bit of a curly issue." And the idea is to talk about it sooner rather than later. Now, again, this is quite text heavy. I've tried to call it out, and chunk it up into the steps. Uh, I would love to turn this into more of an infographic approach. I haven't, as you would know, these things do take time to do and sit down and work out. So ideally, I would like to work with my clients, some of my wonderful repeat clients that I work with and say, hey, what do you think about this? And that way it is more of that collaborative approach to contracting so that I'm getting that stakeholder feedback, which, aligns with the B Corp status as well of the law firm. But then again, we do have that there's the termination clause and good old better contract design mark at the end. So, comparing the two in terms of in terms of comparing the two, uh, the page count is longer for my new document. I think it's clearer in lots of ways. The font and things I've slightly tweaked, but a lot of it's still the same around, still that intention to be clear and the hope that it's fair and balanced and that clients feel comfortable. I want them to trust me with their business, and so that's why I hope that. And it's also me trying to show that this is the kind of love that your contracts will get when you trust me to help with your business or with your law firm documents. So that's one of the reasons why I think contracts are so amazing. They can do some extra talking for you. And I really do see my service conditions, my legal documents as an extra team member uh, who helps kind of get things done in the business and, you know, builds that really good relationship that I want to have with my clients over a long term. So there you go. What do you think about these two documents? Do you prefer one or the other? Do you think the touchstone is silly? Would you like to have one in your contracts? Let me know what you think. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts or see your legal service agreements. And yeah, it's always a work in progress. So I'll be looking forward to in the new year probably showing you the next iteration of my service conditions as I continue to play with them over time. This has been Clause Play. So thank you for coming along and let me just get that going one more time because we want to see it again. Close play. Thanks for joining and yeah, let me know your thoughts. Bye for now.